Hi everybody, this is Gad Hinkis, creator of Polyjamer, a super intuitive music creation app for non-musicians and musicians alike. We're making this video to welcome producers and musicians and invite you guys to create sound packs for the Polyjamer app, which you can already download on the App Store right now for free. So what is it exactly? So it's basically a music creation and jamming app that you can very easily, very intuitively use to create music. So we have 4 channels: drums, bass, chords, and melody. Each one works in basically the same way. You have different sounds on each channel that you can choose. And if you go up, you have high notes, low notes at the bottom, fast and slow. And there's a looper on, so the last movement that you did is being recorded into a loop. You can delete the loop and you can make a bass line, make some drums, and create music very fast, very cool. So here I'm making a small demo. You can mute, you can play live sets with this, you can share your music online, and so forth. So how it works is that we have here different styles of music. If you click here, we have right now like 7 different styles, and each one comes with its own pack of sounds, its own rhythm, tempo, quantization, and harmony. And what we're looking for is musicians, DJs, producers to create their own content for this platform so that you can offer it for your fans or use it for your stage, or basically have a branded content with your name, with your style, with your sound for our platform. So you can have cool content for your fans, we can have more material here, and we can all benefit. So you just heard like a progressive house style. I'll give you an example of something completely different, like a hip hop style. So you still have melody, chords, bass, and drums, but here in the melody, it's more of a sample sound. And in chords you have scratches. And the drums. So you can have very different kinds of styles of music with this app, and we would like to invite you to create content for our platform. So what exactly do we need from you? So everything is based around, first of all, the sound selection. So in drums you have 4 different drum sounds. We need a bass drum, snare, percussion, and hi-hat. These 2 you can be quite liberal, usually a small hi-hat here and a long hi-hat open cymbal here works well, or here it can be a conga and here a muted hi-hat, or basically whatever you want, but we like to keep the bass drum snare here and the higher sounds at the top. And what we need basically is wave samples, cut it exactly from the transient until exactly the end of the sound. For the drums and the bass we need it in mono samples. For the chords and melody we need stereo samples. For bass, chords, and melody, all the samples should be in C. So middle C, basically, I think this is the C, this is the middle. We need 1 sample of bass, and we spread it out over the interface, depending on what kind of scale you want to do. So if it's a pentatonic or a major C, or it can even be less than a scale. It can be like 3 notes that or 5 notes that you especially like a certain chord that is the most representative of your sound. So basically we need 4 drum sounds, 1 bass, 1 chord, or like whatever sample you want, and a melody. Now another good thing is that we have, for each channel, we have different sounds. So I can actually have, for melody you can have 4 different sounds, the same for chords, the same for bass, the same for drums. So actually if you want to make a sound pack for us, it's good to have a bigger collection. So for 4 drum kits, 4 bass sounds, 4 chords, and 4 melodies. so we can have a bigger variety for the users. Of course, you can also have just one sound for each one, or two or three. It's very much up to you. Besides that, we need to have the scale settings, as I said before, like what is the scale of the music that you choose, and the rhythm. So we need the tempo, and we need to know if there's a swing in it, if and this can be a process that we can do together. So for example, if you send us a demos of one of your tracks and you have a lot of triplets in the track, then we would go more for that and put it in the arrangement of the groove. If you're more into techno, then in drums, when we hold the bass drum down, it would give a pumping 4 to the floor kick. If you're doing hip hop, it would be more of a broken beat. So this we can discuss and we can create together, but basically what we need from you is mostly a full track that gives your style, that we know what's the harmony, what is the groove like, what is the tempo, and the separate sounds, which is mostly what we need. So let me show you now an example on the computer of how to make that happen. So here, for example, we received from an artist separate tracks of one of their songs, and we can listen to a sample of some of the channels put together. So like this, I can find the bass drum, the snare, the clap, and I can separate them and can cut them up. So basically we need separate tracks of one of your songs, or if you have just samples, then prepare for us a library of 4 drum kits with 4 sounds each, a bass, chords, and a melody, and you can have variety of each one. Now let me show you a little bit of the difference between the drums, bass, chords, and melody. So in chords, you can actually put a few fingers together and what we like is that the length of the sample in chords, it can be either short, like staccato-y, if you want it more jumpy, and in melody it can be longer, so a bit more legato feeling. Now the main difference between chords and melody is that chords work in parallel. So all the fingers you put, each one is a different note playing in a different rhythm. In melody it works more like an arpeggiator. So if I put one finger or 2 fingers, it would jump between the different notes. If I put, so it's arpeggiating basically a pattern. So it's really up to you if you would like to have more legato sounds on the melody or more legato sounds on the chord. For this preset, the electro style, we decided to use more legato sounds for the melody. So it's kind of washy like that, and for the chords we use very staccato sounds. But it's good to differentiate between the chords and melody. One is more percussive, one is more legato. But for example, in progressive house, we decided that the chords would be more legato, like longer notes, and in melody would have. So that is up to you. Also, we can have something that is more like an effect. For hip hop, in the chords, we didn't put any chords, it's more scratch sounds. And in melody, we put more sampled sound. So it's really up to you. Bass is pretty straightforward, but what is important to remember is that because we're using one-shot samples, there is no envelope in the app. So if you are playing high, the note will always be shorter than when you're playing low. So that's important to remember and keep in mind. Usually like between 50 milliseconds, between like 200 milliseconds to 1 second, that is like a lot already, 1 second for a bass sound. But you can experiment and try things out by cutting the samples that you already have and putting them in Ableton, for example, in a sampler, like we did here with this sound. Sorry, 1 second. This. Where is it? Oh, in here. So what we did, we cut it from the original a separate track and put it in a sampler here. You can master it a bit, you can enlarge the sound, add your EQ or whatever you want, and then just bounce it really as short as possible in wave quality in C. That's pretty much it.